Thank you. Also, my thanks for inviting me. So I would like to start by commenting on the communication from the European Commission that I found it very balanced with a view on all the risks, because we are at the moment discussing an exercise in risk management. And if we look at the past, I find it helpful that the Commission is very outspoken about what failed also. So there is a reason why we failed in the past 10 years. Well, we will come back to that, but the Commission, for instance, stated that nation states didn't use good times to build up fiscal buffers. Well, there are reasons for that. The low interest rate environment was a point in explanation that, and then were the escape clauses. So there is a rationale for fiscal rules. When I graduated, the monetary union was just being launched, and in our monetary economics education, we stressed a lot the history of currency unions. And we talked about the Latin monetary union, the Swedish currency union. All these currency unions failed, and they failed because there was a problem with fiscal spillovers and with the problem that some countries overused their fiscal instruments and then the system crashed down. So this remains one of the basic rationales behind the discussion of the risk exercise, the risk management system we are discussing today. When there are high deficits in country A, they can lead to inflation, a weaker euro, financial pressures for other countries. So we need an instrument for handling these risks. And of course, we want to be able to use instruments for macroeconomic stabilization, but I find it the most important thing an economist can do is to explain to the general public that this is only feasible. You can only use fiscal instruments for stabilization if there is a precondition met, and this precondition is fiscal sustainability. So fiscal sustainability is not a dogma or a fetish, it's necessary to be able to use the instruments we need. So what were the problems with the old fiscal rules? Well, as the Commission states in its communication, member states had not used good economic times to build fiscal buffers. And then there is a mixed set of explanations and aspects. The system was too complex, it was not enforced, the debt adjustment rules were not realistic, there were insufficient incentives for investment and reform, and there was a lack of national ownership. So are there alternatives for these old fiscal rules? Well, yes, but there are no quick fixes, there are no panaceas. A lot of the issues my colleagues already discussed are in fact unavoidable. You cannot avoid some problems. You cannot foresee the future, so you will always be debating about what the future will bring in economic growth and interest rates and all that. So the basic remains the same. It's risk analysis. And then the big question is, how do we govern the risk? And where is the balance? Which institutions play a role? The national level and at the European level, what is the role of the Parliament, the Commission, other players? So when I see what is being done in the communication of the Commission, well, the importance of the shift towards an expenditure growth rule, well, that is already operational in many countries, I know, so that is not impossible. It can work. Will it? Well, I think that some countries at the national level will still be using the old regime, and they are free to do so with structural deficits, but at the European level we will more be discussing growth, primary expenditure growth rates. That's not an impossibility. When there is this choice to drop the 120 rule, that's the gap between the debt and the debt level of 60% has to be bridged in 20 years. It was not applied, so that's one of the reasons why you could drop it. But it means that there is more flexibility, and that's often, that's probably the reason why the communication makes that choice. And then there is indeed this discussion about the solidity of the debt sustainability analysis. But again, there is no magic rules. We can debate forever between shifting between structural deficit and growth expenditure rules, but uncertainty will always be our destiny. What the European Parliament can do is to debate on what kind of margin of security we want in this kind of risk analysis. So in my time I have today, I would like to give some suggestions what the European Parliament could be discussing, margins of security. What they could also debate is in the communication we now talk about for high debt countries an adjustment period of 5 years, and for others for 3 years, and then it could be extended, this adjustment path, depending on investment or reform, by 3 years. Well, this is not a parameter given by God. The Parliament could debate that. Would we like shorter adjustment periods or longer adjustment periods? These are interesting debates the Parliament could have. Of course, the balance is now more shifted towards a negotiation between the country and the Commission on its multi-year budget plans. And there is this vital element that there is this flexibility. We can debate on reform and investment, but this is more discretion, more power, more freedom for negotiation between the Commission and the country. And that's a vital change. That's something that Parliament should debate. Do we want this discretion, more discretion for the Commission? I will keep it at that for this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.